Welcome. This is the podcast by Wake the Farm Up called Maintaining Ground, and I am your host, Ande the Elf. In this podcast experiment, I'll be talking with old friends, new friends, and a whole variety of people who are very inspiring, intriguing, and have their own opinion about the world to share and incredible stories. So I hope you enjoy this. Here we go.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet, Daddy? Are we there, Daddy?
We're there.
All right, Daddy. All right, everybody, let's just do this, all right? This is awesome. Mooncat Daddy on the line here, and we're going to be having a good time. Everybody, welcome Mooncat.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's a pleasure to be here today.
Yeah, so give us a quick brief. Where are you at today? Down in South Carolina, right?
Yep. So I'm currently in the town of Holly Hill, South Carolina, which is in Orangeburg County, right off I-95, and they call this right here the Low Country. So very kind of semi-swampy, very humid, a lot of little forest lands down here, a lot of pine trees, a lot of gators, good southern living, pecan trees in the backyard.
Sweet.
Second day of spring, actually.
So you got gators down there, eh?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know they came all the way that far north. I guess South Carolina is all the way down there, huh?
Yeah, and I read some reports. They're as far up as North Carolina, certain parts of Virginia.
Wow, yeah, that's the world getting warmer.
Yes, sir.
Expanding.
Yes, sir.
Expanding that reptilian territory.
Oh, yes, sir. And then I just found out something cool. In South Carolina, and there's a place where they breed rare turtles out here that are endangered in nature from all over the world. So I think the guy said something about a black Burmese tortoise and everything like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so this is a crazy little place, man.
So being called Holly Hill, I'm familiar with a holly that grows in the south called yapun. Is that perhaps the holly that is growing in that area?
Like the holly tree, correct?
It's a smaller tree. I think they only get maybe 20 feet tall, and they have smaller leaves than your Christmas time cartoon holly. But it's a leaf that you can drink as a tea, and it has caffeine in it.
Oh, wow. I need to look for that. I'm not familiar with that one.
Wow, somehow you just went into, it's almost like you just had some of that.
Some of that holly.
Yeah, you want to wiggle your jack?
I'm on Bluetooth speakers. You sound clear over here to me.
Where did we just come from? Yapun.
So before this, it was Washington D.C.
What, the actual farm?
Oh yeah, the yapun trees.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, but we can move it along here. We'll go into some other realms. So I wanted to ask you about Washington D.C. So is that where you grew up mostly, in Washington D.C.?
I was born and raised in Washington D.C. Been there probably majority of my life up until about 22, and that was the first time I left the state long term.
So when you were in DC, I always think of it not being a state, but when it's when you were in D.C., were you in the city or were you in like Virginia or one of the nearby areas?
So when I grew up, I spent a lot of time in the city with on my dad's side, and then in PG County, which is like the suburbs right outside of Washington D.C, which is technically Maryland.
So your county, your whole entire county was rated PG?
PG, yeah, PG, and then once you cross my county line, you're in Washington D.C.
And that's rated. That's rated R there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Risky.
Cool, man. And then when you left, I know you spent some time in Hawaii. Is that where you went initially, or did you?
No. So where I went initially, I started out in Colorado.
Tight.
And that's where I had the chance to meet Priscilla Moma, our good friend.
Priscilla Moma.
Beautiful.
And yeah, I took the journey to after about 2 years in Colorado, on and off. That's when I took the journey to Hawaii.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So were you making music with Priscilla Moma back at that point?
Not really. We were all hanging out at this open mic. So it was about a group about 7 of us who would all hang out, and we would all go to the this open mic called, what was it called? It was on Mondays, and it's at a really nice restaurant downtown in Denver. And then we would all meet up at, and sometimes we would hop on and sing with each other. Sometimes I'll play the piano for her, or they'll do, like, some of the friends, we all do like background singing and everything. So we were doing that consistently for a couple months before we initially started to take the journey to Hawaii.
Wow, I would love to hear, like, if there's any recordings from that time. I would love to hear that someday. That sounds
man, yeah, like, I gotta see who has the old files.
Yeah, that sounds like a nice archive. So
Definitely.
How was that going from DC to the mountains to an island out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? Like, wow. I've never been to Hawaii.
I would say... What? You've never been?
Yeah, I have so many friends that are Hawaiian and live there all the time, and they tell me they can't believe I haven't been there because that's just crazy. I'm like more Hawaiian than like half the Hawaiians or something.
I was exactly about to say the same sentiment. Like, Andy, you're definitely Hawaii all the way. Like, you are the living embodiment of aloha.
That's awesome. I love that. Bringing it from the mainland.
Yes, yes.
I grow my hibiscus and I say aloha, Indiana.
Oh, that's awesome. See, yeah, that's the way to do it right there. Because aloha is not just an island thing. It's a way of life. And I feel like, anybody can really embody that true aloha spirit. So aloha, Indiana.
So I feel like since I've known you, you've had this positive energy, this smile that just crushes any negativity. I imagine like you don't experience negativity because you just come into a place with that smile that you carry and it just like dissipates.
Yeah, man, I guess that's my superpower. I try to stay in a optimistic space always, man. I try to stay positive. I try to always stay encouraging to my environments, because that wasn't a luxury I was always afforded as a child. Growing up.
Yeah.
I come from I say this abusive household sort of kinda, but I've always been a lover.
How did you cultivate yourself to be what are some things that perhaps for our listeners that you would suggest to like cultivate in themselves to get themselves to a super optimistic state of mind?
Gratitude, first and foremost. Just knowing that my situation could... Yes, gratitude, man. Just knowing that others have it way worse than I have. that my situation could always be worse than what it is, and just knowing that as long as I got like life in my body, I am able to accomplish and get through anything, you know. And it's like what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But in my case, it's like what didn't kill me just made me happier or just more grateful.
Yeah. I know for myself, you've probably picked it up, one of my survival mechanisms has been humor, laughter, and there's so many different angles for that. And, you know, along the lines of gratitude, that's top notch, and I'm super grateful for humor and what that medicine does for me. And I know it does that a lot for a lot of people along the way. People in the ditches finding themselves able to laugh at their life and laugh their way up to the top. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's I would say, you know, it's like it's hard, man, because I see every day like the world is crushing a lot of people, man, just crushing so many people's spirits. And you know, it's just so many people, like so many of us are trying to hold on and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think once you learn how to turn the pain into humor, that starts the healing process. When you're able to laugh at yourself or laugh at like the things that you've been through, the things you've experienced, like, oh, haha, or, you know, like another thing I like to say, like there are no, like, you know, people like, you know, oh, I hate taking L's, I hate taking losses. There are no L's, there are only lessons.
Yeah.
Hold on, we got a plane going overhead.
Yeah, what's up there?
You know, I need to be fly.
that person.
Like little crop dusting planes, probably.
What the farm?
What kind of crop fields are out there by you? Like, I know you were saying it's like some boggy wetlands and whatnot. So, is there like areas that they can plant things? Like in large fields, what are the farmers doing around you?
Okay, so I know the season that's coming up right now is strawberries. The berry season is coming up. So we got a lot of people who grow strawberries, blackberries, blueberries out here. What else? So yeah, the main thing I saw up the street, the strawberry field they're getting prepped for the warm weather. So they just uncovered them from the last frost. Okay. So the last frost was just last week. Yep. So they uncovered the strawberry patches, and I think that'll be the first thing gearing up. But they grow like a lot of okra, a lot of turnips, a lot of carrots, collard greens down here.
Sounds good.
And
life.
I'm excited for watermelons.
Yeah. So on your family's homestead with your family there, you guys grow. What kind of stuff are you growing that's been fun for you to produce for your family?
Well, for me, last year I did a couple squash vines. I grow okra sometimes. I got like about a 5x5 little raised garden, well, in-ground raised garden bed that I dug up, and then added in some fresh compost and soil and everything. Because a lot of my soil over here is somewhat sandy and somewhat clayey, and I'm still trying to learn to work through those mediums.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what kind of things do you do with okra?
Oh man, so you got Hoppin Jons, which is field peas, okra, over some rice.
Some hoppin' mother-farmin' Johns.
You can make a succotash, which is like the lima beans with the stewed tomatoes and okra. You could chop your okra up and fry it, deep fry it, make fried okra. What else?
You like batter it up with something.
Swell, yeah.
Yeah, like almost like little corn, like little baby hush puppies, but okra.
Nice. Now, I was wondering about the Hoppin Jons, but the Hoppin Jons, like, that's an interesting one. I've never heard of Hoppin Jons. It's like what did you say? That's okra, and you cook it up like so it's kind of gumbo-y, and then you put that on top of a bed of rice.
Yeah, so it's like it's like they're not black-eyed peas, but they're small. They kind of look like black-eyed peas, but they're called field peas, and they're small brown peas. And you would take those and you would chop up, you would use more beans than okra, but you would chop up, you have your okra pieces in there, chopped up in there, cooked with the beans. And then you throw that over a bed of rice or eat it as a side by itself. But usually when I eat my Hoppin Jons, I throw it over some rice with some hot sauce.
That sounds so good. I want to make me some Hoppin Jons. I like to grow okra every year. I definitely probably get a much shorter season in South Carolina being up north here. But it gets there. And I usually end up having a lot of them go to seed that I don't get to harvest for some reason because I just don't get them. They grow so quickly. So I've learned how to collect the seeds once they're dry and then roast them, and it makes a drink that tastes almost just like coffee.
Oh my goodness! See, that's something I have to try.
It's weird. It's weird where you learn these things too. I remember learning this because years ago I haven't been to fast food restaurants in like the big major franchise ones in over 20 years. But I remember as a kid going to Wendy's, and I would always read on the table, they would have these antique newspaper prints embedded into the tables. I don't know if they do that anymore, but I remember reading one and it had Okra Coffee Company, and I remember reading it and it just stuck in my head, and then years later I tried it and I was like, wow, that's actually good.
Oh, wow. See, hey, that's the random information for your everyday life.
Yeah, that's how we used to look stuff up back then. Just like
Google, reading it somewhere or word of mouth.
It's like the pop-up ads of real life.
Oh man. Oh, but back to so the thing with the okra, what somebody told me, because the way that it grows so fast, it's better to collect it and freeze it and use it as needed.
So when you
once you start seeing it, before it gets all spiny and seedy.
Yeah, get it young and like tender.
Shut the farm up.
And just freeze them and just collect them as they grow.
Nice. They freeze pretty good, huh?
Yeah. A lot of stores here carry frozen okra, and that's that was always something I've seen is always in the grocery store, bagged okra, frozen stuff like that. So it holds pretty good.
Nice. Have you ever dried them and reconstituted them, or pickled? I've had them pickled and they're pretty good. Pickled with some garlic or something.
I think for me, I have never tried that. That sounds. What's the word that I'm looking for? I would say I'm not that adventurous yet to do the pickled okra.
Hey, it sounds like you got a lot of adventurous things you're doing with it already. I mean, Hoppin Jons sounds fun. It's I love names for dishes like that. Like one I grew up, was the Sloppy Joes. It sounds like Sloppy Joe and Hoppin Jon could have been in the same band together or something.
The foodies.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh man.
Everybody having a farming good time or what? So I know some of you've been foraging a bit and learning more about that in your area there, and I remember we had a cool connection. You called me from Santee Mound, and we both have a deep connection with mound culture and visiting and connecting with ancestors. And I thought it was awesome experience because as you were doing that, I think I was carving stones. So there was this interesting dynamic that we had when we connected over that. And to me, it was this beautiful moment getting connected with a friend that was reaching out from a mound and, having that connection with me. And you were showing me passion fruit that you were finding there.
Oh yeah, I remember that day like it was yesterday. So yeah, I was up at the Santee Indian Burial Mound. It's as you know, like you said, the mound culture, and it's been down in the South. A lot of Mississippian cultures were mound builders, and that's some our earliest the earliest civilizations of this, this part of, this land in the world and everything like that. So yeah, and what did you say? It was you said a hardwood passion fruit, correct?
Yeah, it's herbaceous. It's herbaceous. It'll vine out, and then in the winter it'll die back to the ground and then grow back again. But I think what I was mentioning was that it's the native passion fruit that grows in the eastern hardwood forests. That being an overarching name for that massive ecosystem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So compared to the more tropical passion fruit,
Yeah. Well, it was still tasty and it was still yummy. As far as the forages, across the street from my house, we have these things called muscadine grapes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tell us about those.
Okay, so they are like Russian roulette when it comes to sweet and sour.
Well, yeah.
Some of them might be more sour than, like, do you remember the candies as a kid called Warheads?
Yeah, they're like...
Yeah, so about as sour as a Warhead, or as sweet as a black cherry.
I'll tell you what, that's something that you and I have in common for sure. I always compare things that I'm foraging on to candies that I had when I was a kid. Like hackberries. I'm always eating hackberries and telling people they taste like milk duds. But I honestly can't remember the last time I had a milk dud. So it's like if I had one, it would probably not taste anything like it. I have no idea. But I love that you just compared the muscadines to redheads. It was wonderful, and it's like, so, and then we got muscadines. They're like the size They're like the size of redheads too, aren't they? They're pretty big, like larger than like regular grapes.
Yeah, pretty hardy grapes with like a nice big old seeds in there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, they're still seeded, so nature's still giving us seeded fruit, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, people buy grape seed extract. It's supposed to be really good for your circulatory system, so if we're eating it just naturally while we're out hanging out in the forest or something, that just makes sense.
Yes. And then what else have I foraged here? Well, I wouldn't say they're wild, but my neighbor has a pretty nice fig tree that goes off in late summer, so get some really good figs from there. So sweet.
Nice.
Yeah.
You should look at so propagating fig trees is fairly easy. There's a few ways you can do it. If you can get like a runner that's shooting off of the main tree and coming up, you can cut that off the main plant and then transplant it to a warm spot at your house. Or there's a technique I've seen that people do where they take an old 2-liter bottle, cut it in half, wrap it around a branch, fill it with potting soil, and then tape it back together so it's like wrapped around the branch. And then over the course of the season, that branch will grow roots into that potting soil that's on there. And then the next season you can cut it off of the tree and plant it. So if you got a good variety nearby, you got a good variety that's growing in your local region there, that's a great thing to do, get free plants.
Dude, that's something I think I've seen like a mechanism like that on Instagram. So thank God for me following the correct things on Instagram, or the artificial intelligence knowing what to show me.
Yeah, it's funny, like I just said, like an old 2-liter bottle or something, right? But of course there's probably somebody out there that's like created a product for it, that you can purchase. But I mean, just grab something out of somebody's recycling bin and fill it with some potting soil, and a little bit of duct tape. Boom.
Hey man, that's my best way. That's my favorite way to do it. I think if you can't recycle what's around you, what are you doing? Because that's just I really do hate being wasteful like that. So no, I definitely would use a 2-liter bottle to do that.
Well, yeah.
I think the funniest advertisement I've seen recently is a bottle that you can buy to pee in while you're traveling in your car, so you don't have to stop and use a restroom somewhere. And to me, that's just absurd. It's like you could use any bottle to pee in, but they're actually marketing one, like a bottle for like $20 that is specifically designed to pee in.
Like an on-the-go catheter.
Yeah, dude. It's like, I don't got time to stop. This ain't my territory. I'm not gonna mark it.
Oh man. Well, I don't know how many times I've done it while driving. Mastered that on the cause you can't pull over on the highway through Wyoming. So.
Yep. I've mastered it originally with JT's kombucha bottles. They seem to hold the capacity of one time for me.
Perfect.
Just make sure.
Keep an empty bottle, man. You don't need to recycle your bottles for pee bottles.
Just make sure you don't drink out of a Gatorade bottle in the back of a plumber's truck.
I've mistakenly picked up a bottle of my pee that I didn't throw out and drank that. So, but they say it's good for you. It's good for you. It's good to drink your own urine.
I think your own urine, your own urine is acceptable for sure, and it can actually do some health beneficial things depending on how fresh it is. You know, if you have it sit in your car for 2 weeks, maybe not so much. But when it's warm and still kind of tastes like coffee, that's a good thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've really derailed since we started out at Santee Mound.
All right, well, back on track. What's next?
Yeah. Let's talk about some mound culture a little bit. Like, I know Santee Mound is like one that's closer to where your homestead is, and like, do you visit it fairly often?
Yeah, I usually go. About a couple months ago, I was going once or twice a week, and so I think I'm can just kind of continue with that ritual, and it's usually within those twice a week events.
Incredible.
It's always a calling that I get, and that's like and I'm just out there kind of really just communing with nature. I feel like I hear spirit a lot more clear out there. I'm just like a different type of grounded. It's a very grounding place spiritually for me, energetically as well. And I like that. My first sign there when I went there, I got to see a cottonmouth, and that snake represents a lot of changes in abundance and everything like that. And I just. Cool. For that to be my first experience there, I was just like, okay, wow, this is, that's nature. Because nature speaks to you always. It's always speaking. Nature to me is my biggest voice of God, I think.
From that, let's play a little cut from some Mooncat Daddy to see where this inspiration has taken him.
Then drown out the noise, we rising like smoke. Just let it all go. On to the next, don't get lost in the moment. Connections a crucial component. You are the light, got to own it. Love is you still got to hone it. Cause we only here for the moment. All you got it by your heart, all you got it by your truth, all you got it by the glitter and the gold. I wake up feeling got it by my soul. Got it by the light that my ancestors shown. Got it to the islands of Hawaii. Shout out to my auntie Drew and Hawaii. Monica can't pay the fire right inside me. I wanna know if you
amazing. Love that shit.
farm. Yeah. Inspiring, man. That's brilliant. That makes me think of, I want to make sure I ask about your music, and do you find a lot of inspiration in those times in your music and what you're bringing through in your own internal nature, your human nature coming out through your music that you share with the world?
Okay, yes, and as far as the music, I would say like nature, yes, does really play a part in my writing style, because I feel like, okay, I'll say energetically, like when I'm in New York or like in the city, I'm kind of, my writing and the music that I'm making at that time is a little bit more grittier, kind of like, you know, I'm mirroring my surroundings. And
I like that.
when I'm out in Hawaii and Colorado and South Carolina, it's very like more like kind of airy and open and meditative, I would say, more meditative in a way. So nature definitely is definitely a big influential part to how I write and but I would just say more so on the energetic level. And then I also remember, you know, the biggest thing for me, I would say water is the element that when it comes to my music has been the biggest inspiration and impact, because I was a water protector at Standing Rock for about 2 years. When that was going on, shout out to the Ocheti Sakowin band, my Lakota brothers, Nakota, from Cannonball, and that really, that point in time in my life doing that, like we were always by a river, we were always singing to the rivers, singing about the rivers, and just understanding my own fluidity in my life and how I am so much like the water myself.
Woo! Hoka-hey!
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's incredible, man. I want to hear. I have so many questions and could go so many directions with this right now. I would love to hear about your experience at Standing Rock, and I think a lot of people here would. I know you and I participated in an event before we even knew anybody else was going to hear about this, and it was this. We did a Water is a Right kind of Now Fest is what I think we called it, and during the Now Fest, that's where we went, because that was what was drumming up in the ethos at the time, and that's what we focused on. I remember you were performing actually, and I got to be randomly the guy projecting things, so I was projecting water up, like massive screen behind you of water. Kept going from oceans to lakes.
Shut the farm up.
Yeah, that was the Noun Fest. Yeah, water is life, man. The saying that the natives say is "Mani Choni." Water is life. Yeah, Mani Choni. Water is life, and water is our first medicine. It is our first environment. We are born in water, in sacks of water in our mom's belly. We're in water, so we're made from water. Our bodies are 70%, more than probably 70% water. The 70% of the earth is water. You know, water is light. Light is information. You know, sound, vibration, frequency. So yeah, water is like our primordial element right there, and yeah, like you said, like we were doing this before we actually knew the totality of what was going on, and so that's why I said the spirit of the water is speaking through all of us and through those who listen.
Moving it, yeah.
Water is life. So we're gonna bring in another cut from Mooncat Daddy just to get another little taste of what this water wizard is doing.
Stand for me like I stand for you. People searching for the fountain of youth. I found my truth. Look into the eyes of you. Now I seek to uplift everything that I do. Mirror images reflecting the change made in your likeness. We are one and the same. I feel your pain. Memories are carried by flames. Love is a melody. I heard the angels sing. We gotta obtain. This isn't that filter sustain. Can't wash this out like a shirt with a stain. Remember your name. This is the indigenous reign. Sovereignty is what we proclaim. Stand up for the seventh generation. We come to this earth as the chosen ones. Align your mind with the signs of time. It's just about to get real and we're gonna be fine. So just
pray for the man with the gun in his hand. Lay down your weapons and come make a stand. Pray for the children who lost their way. Pray for our people, we need you. I pray for your heart 'cause you're hurting.
Incredible.
inside.
This moves me so much. Right? Right? I mean, come on. Put your hands. Go find some more of this music. Alright. Alright. Right? I know. I would love to hear, let's see, like, what kind of things are you doing with your music currently?
Well, on April 4th, me and Stephen 101, we have a track that we're releasing called Icarus. Yeah, I just submitted some stuff on Instagram because I wasn't able to get this Tiny Desk posted in time for the Tiny Desk concert for 2022. And so I got a couple video edits, and then I'll be releasing some singles throughout later this year. So I'm definitely about to start getting very much back active into the music because that's my first love and my first language. So
Yeah, as a performing artist, did the pandemic kind of make you take a step back for a bit, and now you feel like you're able to step back into that?
Oh, totally. I think a lot of us, as far as the music community, got hit in a big way and took like that's what we were doing. But honestly, before that, I did slow down because, just being a new dad. So just trying to, get my feet and my bearings with that. So I do feel I'm getting back to this place where I can, manage my time I can manage my time better with the performing, with the, creative process.
I think that's beautiful, actually, that as like a water spirit, someone that's moving and inspired through the flow of water, that you were able to be a new dad during that time, like to be able to be there in that kind of way and kind of like step back from your normal flow and reinvent everything. I think that's incredible. I know for me, similar situation, but totally different, I guess. It's like I was a newly single dad and was stepping into a new role of my time and experience with my children. So it's interesting, these like things, like it worked out really good for me. I got to have a lot of time with them and figuring out this new flow of things, and now we're kind of going into a more regular flow of life. And I imagine if that would have happened to me a couple of years ago, if we were still in like a normal flow of life, I might not have quite as deep of a connection with my kids as I do right now.
Yeah, it's like it shifted a lot of things for a lot of people, and then like for me, I was just able to kind of slow down, prioritize, what's the most important thing in my life right now, and then because the music it'll always be there, man. It'll always be there for me. But I think this small window that I have with my children, especially them being so young, you don't get that back.
Wake the farm up.
Like when you grew your squash vines, did you make some baby food with the squash?
No, usually like with a lot of the things I grow, like it's more enjoyable for me giving them to my community and to like my neighbors and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And I save one that I'm like, when my kids get here next week, we're gonna cut it open and clean the seeds and dry the seeds out and replant them.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So have that, have a couple little gardening projects here for them when they get here.
What kind of, tell me some kind of things that you feel are important as a dad. Mooncat Daddy.
I would say, man, I think the most important thing is giving your children the love and just adorning them and showering them with love and support and supporting all of their adventures, creative, allowing them to make mistakes on their own. And really, because we can't coddle our children and we can't allow them not to mess up, because once they mess up later in life, we might not be there to guide them. So it's, just let them make mistakes.
Right.
Like what does Miss Frizzle say? Take chances, get messy, take chances, make mistakes.
Yeah.
Know.
Well, I think some of the things I see that you have going for you, for your children, is that you're following your passions and your dreams, and you are optimistic about life, and them seeing that, I think, is a huge thing. I think for me, I've given up this kind of concept of the focus of being a good dad, which is weird to say, but that concept released a burden for me, and I think because of that, I've actually been a better dad than I probably would have been capable of, because I'm following my passions and my dreams, and they're seeing that, and so they're going to learn that and be able to do that themselves a lot better than if I was subduing myself to be what society tells us is a good dad, as opposed to being a good dad just by naturally being a good self.
Exactly, and a lot of like what my grandma always says, what works for others might not work for me. So, and I think that's the most important thing, finding your parenting style, which is the most natural, because if you're trying to force anything, then naturally you're going to get this push and pull resistance, because that's just a universal law.
Right.
If you're trying to, force anything rather than just letting things be, being like water.
Yeah, I think some of the societal examples I had growing up were like Homer Simpson, and what's that guy, Al Bundy, and Bill Cosby, and he was like a male father figure for me growing up. And you look at him now, it's like who are these societal father figures that we had? I don't know, it's an interesting world what they put out there for us.
Exactly, and so that's why I just try to tune out everything and just listen to what's in my heart to do, because that's always going to be the best teacher. And going through a process right now where I'm reparenting myself as well as parenting my children. So it's a beautiful experience, because they're teaching me how they need to be parented and what they need.
Yeah.
And I think that's because every child is different. So you can't parent how you were parent, because that might not work for your children.
Right.
And so, just trying to find, for me, it's just trying to find a neutral space of what they need, a good balance of what I need, and, just like I said, just being present and being in the moment.
Nice. Make sure they don't get into a gator's mouth. I think I'm still going back to that earlier part. I'm fascinated that gators are up in that part of South Carolina, and you were mentioning that they've moved up into North Carolina. That's where I'm originally from, actually, North Carolina.
What part?
Cary, which is outside of Raleigh. It's really interesting. Of course, I was born back in the late 70s and moved out of there early 80s. I don't really remember it, but I came across a National Geographic magazine one time that had Cary, North Carolina in the cover, and it mentioned it, so I had to open it up, cool, where I'm from is in the National Geographics. And I flip it open, and it's an article all about the worst suburban sprawl in the country, and Cary, North Carolina was highlighted as one of their examples. So
whoa,
that just made me kind of wow, okay, I guess that's where I came from, and that's some of the work I feel like I need to do. I know in the Cincinnati area where I grew up in Winton Woods, that area as I was growing up was forested. The exit ramp off of the highway was a gas station and cornfields, and now it's an abandoned mall. It's like in my lifetime they ripped the forest down, put a mall up, and now the mall is just sitting there vacant. It's pretty wild to see what I come from and why it's naturally part of what I need to do is to help. I want to bring people's nature back to themselves and relearn how to integrate as humans into the ecosystem.
And I think that's important for people because a lot of us, we're not living in natural ecosystems, so a lot of our systems are out of sync because there's no kind of, symbiotic relationship between us, between nature, between the animals, between like the way we're building, like how, infrastructure.
Right.
So, I think that's very beautiful. I think that's something a lot of us will benefit from, especially like, in the urban cities and places like Cincinnati and even the rural parts of the country, we all need that.
I know a lot of times people like to, like you were mentioning going out to Santee Mound to feel that peaceful spirit of the nature there. I like to share that when we feel that call to quote unquote go spend some time alone with nature, we're actually being called to go out to this massive party. There's this massive party going out in a forest, out in a prairie, out in anywhere that there's just surrounded by nature. If you really want to be alone, you can put yourself in like a concrete sealed room that's been sterilized, and then you'll actually maybe be closer to being alone. But out in the forest, you're like surrounded by this massive party of interactions between bugs and animals and trees and plants and herbs and wind and microorganisms and mushrooms. There's just so much going on that's what makes you feel good, is that social interaction with the big ecosystem.
Exactly. And it's like once we all experience that, and I think a lot of people, they're scared to go into nature because, like you said, the insects and the bugs and not knowing what's like the unknown is what's more scary to them than getting the actual experience of peace and being part of that ecosystem.
Yeah. I like that. Well, this has been incredible, Mooncat. And I always look forward to connecting with you and finding ways to keep growing and building and putting our purpose and mission together out into this world in some ways. I'm really excited for what you and Stefan 101 are putting out coming up this April, and more. I'm looking forward to more. I'm stoked about the memories that we've crafted together. The future. I didn't even bring up our adventures in Wisconsin. I mean, fam, that's like, we've been to music festivals up there where you were performing, and my family was running little tea houses, and there's just so many. So many stories.
Memories.
Yeah. So look forward to more. Thanks a lot for being on this Wake the Farm Up Maintaining Ground podcast. And
oh man, thank you for having me, man. It's definitely been a pleasure, and I always will love to come back.
Farm, yeah.
Yeah, would you like that? I'd like that. I think that'd be tight. I'd love that shit. Man, I am grinning and having a good time. I hope you all had a good time and everybody's feeling good. I know I'm feeling so good right now.
Them people talking about they scared of nature, man. Shut the farm up and wake the farm up. All right, brother. Love you, man. Good talking to you.
Keep listening to this podcast. Explore the other episodes. Have fun. Stay tuned. There'll be more coming from the Mother Farmin' Elf.
Everybody remember, wake the farm up.